Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we are going to talk about the hottest holiday palettes or palettes in general you can get during the Sephora VIB sale this year. First of all, if you're joining me live, hi, how are you? Thank you so much. This was short notice, so if you're just watching this video later, it's totally okay. I get it. Thank you so much for clicking on it anyways. What had happened was that I had in my mind, right? I had videos planned a certain way, and I had 3 videos that were going to go up regarding the Sephora VIB sale. This one was the 3rd video, but yesterday's video took me so long to edit. I ended up just posting it today, but it didn't have palettes included in it, and I love eyeshadow palettes. I needed to post a palettes video before the sale went live. Anyways, thank you so much, Anna and Diva and Shannon and Fran and Dan. I see you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for watching live. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you guys don't know, which I'm sure you do, the Sephora VIB sale starts at midnight if you're a Sephora VIB Rouge. And VIB Rouge get 20% off, and in just 3 days, I think it is, November 1st, whenever that is, VIBs get their 15% off and they get to shop the sale. I'm very excited about this video because there is a lot of really amazing palettes at Sephora right now that you guys can get with a discount, and that is awesome. All right, the chat finally started moving for me. So thank you so much to everybody who's saying hi. Hi, Adriana and Star and Shirley. I also kind of low-key love the idea of doing this video live because it's been a minute since I did a live video, and you guys know I love chatting with you. So if you have any questions in regards to anything Sephora sale, let me know down in the comment section. I hope you guys watched my recommendations video I uploaded this morning. I know it was long. I hope you brought a snack. But when it comes to the Sephora sale, it's just, Sephora is my favorite place to shop makeup at, and so I try so many things that they sell, and so I just really wanted to cover everything, you know? Hey Michelle, how's it going? Okay, so the first palette I want to talk about, and I'm going to start with the most wearable, work appropriate, everyday palette and slowly build my way to the most amazing palettes in my opinion at Sephora right now, which are the ones that are sparklier and sultrier and sexier and a little bit more colorful, like the one I'm wearing. Anyways, the first palette I wanted to talk about is this one right here. This is, hold on, there we go. This is the Glam To Go palette from Anastasia. This is a little tiny thing. It's tiny but mighty, I will say, because with these 8 eyeshadows that you see in this palette here, you can do a lot of different makeup looks that are all very work appropriate. They're all in the same color family because this is kind of a monochromatic rose palette, but I know that these colors are flattering on a lot of people and the shades performed amazingly. I prepared a little something to go along with my description, so let me scoot over this way. Are you ready? Look at the swatches. I'm in the wrong place. Look at the swatches right there. I absolutely love the way this little palette performs. All of the shades are super, super creamy, extremely blendable. You guys can see how nice they look. One swipe pigment in a lot of cases, and all of these shades go together amazingly, okay? So absolutely love this one. Like I said, it's tiny but mighty and a perfect palette to shop that you're going to actually use on a daily basis. Like, this is one of those palettes that it might not be the most amazing thing you've ever seen, but you're going to reach for it a lot if you wear makeup to work, because it's just an easy grab, something that you can just throw on and it'll look good no matter how fast you do it, you know? I did, besides this video where I'm mentioning it, I did a video reviewing it. That's my thumbnail of my video right there. And in that video, I think I just created a look Yeah, I think it was just the one look. So this palette, pretty hot right now at Sephora, and if you're a VIB or a Rouge, you can get it with a discount, which is awesome. So that was the first palette I wanted to cover. Thank you, Venus. This is basically one of the eyeshadow looks that I did when I did my review video of the Pat McGrath Celestial Nirvana, that green and gold look right there. I recreated it today because that was my favorite look I did with that palette. I loved it, and I needed to wear it on both eyes in one video. Hey, hi guys. Thank you to everybody who's saying hi in the comment section. Okay. If you had to pick between the new Huda palette or the new ABH Rose Metals palette, what would it be? You know what? One of those palettes is included in this list right here, and the other one isn't. The ABH Rose Metals palette is nice and it performs well, but it's honestly not a color story that me personally, I just don't see myself reaching for it all that often. So I didn't put it in this video, and the new Huda one is. So we'll get to that one later. Okay. Palette number 2 is from Huda Beauty, but it's not the new one. I just wanted to include this palette in this video because, I don't know, I feel like we haven't gotten it on sale that much, even though it's a year old now, and it's still such an amazing palette, and, you know, newish, it's like a year old. Anyways, I'm talking about the Rose Quartz palette. Like I said, I'm going from subtle to dramatic here. So the reason I love this palette, just like the previous one that I was talking about, is because it's a very easy grab, something that you can just throw on and it looks good no matter how you do it. But the good thing about this one, or the better thing about this one, is that it has these really stunning shades that Huda loves to come out with that are really, really shiny. It looks like your eyelids are wet, and she does such an amazing job with those formulas. I don't know, I just love this palette. It's definitely one of the hottest palettes at Sephora still, even though it's a 1-year-old palette, and one of the best palettes that you can grab during this Sephora sale. Let me show you the swatches of these because I do have them here as well. Here you go. These is from all of the swatches I grabbed from my original review videos of all of these palettes. So of course, if you have not seen a particular review video on any of the palettes I'm talking about, I have tried them all on my channel before. I've swatched them all. I've compared them all to similar palettes in their brand collections, and honestly, I've done multiple looks with all of these as well. I just absolutely love them. So yeah, this Rose Quartz palette, even though it's a 1-year-old palette, it's the oldest palette I'm going to talk about today, by the way. I still very, very highly recommend it. It is amazing. Okay, done with those swatches. As you can see, they are dreamy to say the least. I just love them. And I did a 5 looks 1 palette with this one when it first came out last year, and every single one of those looks I just absolutely love. They were just so much fun to create, and they're nice and girly, and like, I don't know, they just have a thing about them. They're soft. I don't know, I really love them. Let's see, let me read some comments. My shade in the Rare Beauty. Oh, and the tinted foundation. Yes, a lot of those shades are still sold out. I'm actually wearing the Rare Beauty tinted foundation right now. I love it. It's so good. I'm sad I missed so much of the live. You didn't. This is just palette number 2, and we're going to talk about like 7 of them. Thank you so much for the eyeshadow compliment. My lashes, don't look at them too closely because I couldn't find my regular lash glue, and the lash glue I could find was a black glue, and I made a mess. They're not on right. I was considering taking them off, but that would have been even more of a mess. Okay, let's see. Palette number 3. It's also a 1-year-old, so I actually lied because I just said that this was the oldest palette, and it is by only a few weeks. I have to talk about this palette again, and I just mentioned it in my Sephora recommendations video, but it is just that good. I just cannot recommend this palette enough. So I'm going to throw it in here as well, because if you don't have it yet, you need it. And this is coming from someone who, when I first saw it, I did not like this palette at all. Hear me out here. It's these shades. Natasha Denona doesn't often do the very metallic, very sparkly shades, but when she does do the very metallic, very sparkly shades, those are my favorite palettes that she comes out with. Because let me say that again, because the matte eyeshadows from Natasha Denona are the greatest, the most blendable. They're pigmented, but they're soft and they're wearable and they're easy to work with, right? The matte formulas from Natasha Denona are amazing, but I come to expect those in every palette. Her shimmers, whenever she does them, very glitzy like these, are also one of my favorite formulas, but she doesn't do it that often. In fact, the new Natasha Denona Glam Retro or Retro Glam palette that's coming out, all that I'm praying for is some really sparkly shades, especially because it's about to come right before the holiday season. If it doesn't have sparkly shades, I'm going to be hella disappointed. Anyways, in this palette, not only do you get 5 beautiful, greatly formulated shadows, but you also get a blush and a highlighter. This is the best travel palette that I've ever owned. And ever since I got it a year ago, I've taken this one with me everywhere. I sometimes use it at home without leaving my house too, because it just has the most basic but perfect shades. And if you have a darker complexion, she has a darker option of this palette, which also has gotten amazing reviews. So I simply cannot recommend this palette enough. By the way, if you're interested in anything that I'm talking about in today's video, as per usual, everything is listed and linked down below. And if you have not had the time to check out my Sephora sale recommendations video, I also have a link right underneath the palettes. I have a link that takes you to my whole list of Sephora recommendations. Everything I talked about in that hour-long video is listed right there. So if you didn't have time to watch that video, but you want to check out my recommendations, click the link down in the description box of this one, because everything is right down there. Okay, let's see. Do you recommend Patrick Ta eyeshadow palettes? Well, that is a great question, because the next palette I wanted to talk about is a Patrick Ta eyeshadow palette. So yes, I absolutely do recommend them. But the one I included in this video is not the original one, is number 2, which came out during the springtime this year. So this palette right here is perfection. He has much better formulas in this one than he did in the first palette he came out with, in my opinion at least. Let me scoot over this way because I think I have some swatches to show you. Let's see. Here we go. So the first shade is a cream, as you can see right there on the swatch, and then the rest of the top rows are all really beautiful, very, very pigmented metallic shimmers. I love me metallic shimmers. I love me some sparkle. I do not love when the shimmers are kind of plain looking. I just like my eyes to be seen. And then it also has a second darker cream shade down here, and the bottom row is full of very, very creamy mattes. Are they as creamy as like Natasha Denona mattes? No, because Natasha has the greatest mattes, but these are very pigmented and very blendable as well. I would say the main difference is that these are maybe a little bit more powdery. Anyways, this palette is quite the amazing palette as well. I absolutely love it, and the looks you can create with this one are on the monochromatic rose side, but some of my favorites, because I just really love the way that these rose and these darker red tone brown shades look on my eyes. And these are shades that are flattering not just on me, but on a lot of different complexions and on a lot of different eye colors. I honestly can't think of an eye color that this palette wouldn't look beautiful around. So the shades are very pigmented. The formula is quite amazing. And I do recommend this one over the original Patrick Ta palette, because in that one I feel like there were just a few shades that I didn't love the formula of. He did some of those like matte shades that have like thrown in random sparkles in there and stuff. I don't love those. But this one, I feel like he kind of perfected his vision with this one. And I love the way that this palette is set up much more than the first one, and I love the colors as well. One more thing I forgot to say is to not be scared of these cream shades right here. I like to use these cream shades. Hey Lisa. I like to use these as a base for the matte shades or the powder shades, or you can kind of even put them in between, like I've done, you know, transition matte and then darkened it up and then added the darkest one on top, or like sandwiched the cream in the middle of the mattes. And every time I've used them, any way I've used them, they work really nice and everything still blends really nicely and nothing creases. The formulas of this palette overall are really, really great. Okay, we have 3 more palettes to go, and I obviously left the best for last because these are amazing palettes. So let's see, let me keep scrolling down. I have a very long list of swatching thingies and stuff right there, so it's a little confusing. Anyways, this one I think was in the thumbnail of the video because I had to talk about it, and I'll talk about something else in a second. Anyways, my dream palette from Natasha Denona might just be, I don't want to say it's my favorite Natasha Denona palette ever because we all know that the gold palette has a special place in my heart, but of the midi-sized palettes, I feel like this is my new favorite. This is my colors right here. I have the burgundies, I have a couple of very shiny shades. I wish I had more shiny shades, but I have a couple at least. I have amazing, amazing matte shades. I have a little bit of cool tone. I have a little bit of warm tone. Absolutely everything I need in this palette. Hello from Estonia. How do you say Estonia in English? Is it Estonia? Because I feel like in Spanish is Estonia. Anyways, hi, how are you? Thank you for joining me. What time is it over there? Because I'm pretty sure it's gotta be early. Okay, if you lost all of your eyeshadow palettes, which one would you buy first? Girl, I would rebuy my whole Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette collection. I just love Pat McGrath so much. And by the way, I didn't include Mothership palettes in this video because Pat McGrath is currently having a 30% off sale. And so I'd much rather you buy Pat McGrath palettes at 30% off than at 20% off at Sephora if you're a Rouge, or 15% if you're a Beauty Insider. It's just, it doesn't make sense for me to include my Pat McGrath palettes in this video because you can get them at a better price at the Pat McGrath website. I'll leave a link down below after I'm done with this video to the Pat McGrath website if you guys are interested. But I think I would probably repurchase some Pat McGrath palettes. This one would be repurchased, and if I could ever get my hands on the discontinued gold palette from Natasha Denona, that one would be repurchased as well. I'm sorry, I couldn't pick one. Anyways, I think I have the little swatches of this one somewhere here. All right, there we go. I keep rolling myself to the wrong place. Anyways, look at the creamy swatches and look at the intensity of the shades in the My Dream palette from Natasha Denona. I just love everything about this one. One thing, if I could change something about it, actually, now that I see that swatch, I feel like if I could get these cream shades to not be as bright and to actually be a bit more moody and like vampy looking, I would like it even better. But needless to say, this is an amazing palette. I absolutely love the formula. I love that she did a multi-chrome shade in here. I love that it's got a really nice balance of cool tones and warm tones, and that it's got burgundies because I love burgundies. Also, this black shade just makes everything much more smoky and sexy, and I don't know, overall it's pretty great. Not only did I do a 5 looks, or not only did I do a review video on this palette when it first came out, but I also did a 5 looks 1 palette with it, which you can see right here on the screen. I tried to use, I think I actually succeeded at using every single shade, and I really, really loved playing with this one. All of these looks were very highly enjoyed by me, And I was actually very surprised because the next palette I'm going to talk about in this video is the Empowered palette by Huda Beauty, which is definitely very highly recommended. And when I first saw these palettes side by side without having them yet, I was like, the color stories are so similar, right? Which to me was kind of like an unfortunate thing. But let me tell you, I created a 5 looks 1 palette video with each one of these palettes, and the looks that I came up with for the different videos were very, very different. So you just saw the My Dream 5 looks 1 palette thumbnail on the screen. Let me show you the thumbnail from the Huda Beauty one. The golds in the Huda Beauty palette just changed everything, and these looks are so different from the looks that I created with the Natasha Denona palette. I actually love both palettes, and so I have to put them both in this video because I highly recommend them both. The formulas of this one are incredible. And Huda is not afraid of including a lot of very shiny, glitzy shades in her palette. So she gets a bit more of a point for that one. Because like I said, Natasha is stingy with her glimmery shades. And I really like that Huda really went in on the very shiny colors, the very glitzy shades when she created this palette. And I absolutely love it. So I would say if you are more into like very natural, more burgundy, not as glitzy, go for the My Dream palette from Natasha Denona. But if you love more glitzy shades, if you love your gold shadows, then go for the Empowered palette by Huda Beauty, because this one honestly is amazing. The matte formula in this palette is great. There's not a dot in here, like sometimes Huda has a little bit of trouble with formulation, but it's never in the like big palettes she releases every year. It's usually on the Obsessions palette. So this one is an amazing formula through and through. Let me show you again the 5 looks 1 palette video I created. I was very easily able to smoke out the looks, to blend everything into one another. That top center look right there is definitely one of my favorites I've done with this palette, and it was so easy to get that amount of like intense smokiness. I absolutely loved it. Check out the swatches of this one. You can see how beautiful and how creamy they are. Let's see, let me check out the comments while you guys see the swatches of this video. I heard that Natasha Denona Retro Glam is coming to Sephora November 11th, right after the sale. Well, that's a shame. See, I thought that it was going to come out during the sale. And the reason I thought that was because last year, and sometimes companies will release products at the same time as they did the year prior because they want to meet their sales goals. So last year, I remember that they released their face and eyes glam palettes during the Sephora sale. So I was assuming, expecting, hoping that the new retro palette from Natasha Denona was going to come out during the sale this year as well. So that's kind of a shame. I'm a little disappointed, and hopefully it comes out a little bit earlier, a little bit before the sale. Anyways, you can see right there, excuse me, on the screen all of the swatches from the Empowered palette by Huda Beauty. You can see how beautiful and creamy this one is. My only negative thing about this palette is that it does have a lot of shades that I feel like look very repeated. You can see it on the swatches right there. They totally have different consistencies to them, and the formulas are different even if the colors look the same. But I feel like some of the shades are a bit redundant, and I wish she wouldn't have done that. However, I do find the palette beautiful to work with, and every single eye look I created with this one I loved. So I still highly recommend it. I recommend the My Dream palette from Natasha Denona, and even though they can look kind of slightly similar, I found that my looks when using them both are very different. Lisa said, I just heard November, but no date. Yeah, I haven't heard a date before either. So let's see. Hi Patty, I didn't know this video was live. 77. You're doing good. All right. Laura says, I agree, Patty. Too many repeat shades. Yes. Is it still a beautiful palette? Also, yes, though. I do really like it. But I do also really like that the My Dream palette, I don't know, Natasha Denona's matte formulas are just on a different level, so I do recommend the Natasha Denona formula better, but she is stingy with her glitzy colors, and it upsets me. I really wish that when Natasha did eyeshadow palettes, majority of her shimmers were similar to like the shimmers in this palette right here, or to the shimmers in the now discontinued gold palette. I swear that palette has the greatest shimmer formulas, and I really wish Natasha would do more palettes that had formulas like that, because they were simply the best. Do you like Tom Ford palettes? I don't usually review the Tom Ford quads on my channel. Nothing against them, except I just find it hard to buy $88 palettes that have 4 shades, and I feel like I could justify it if the formulas were amazing. But I find them usually, I usually find the color stories to be kind of on the boring side, and I don't know, I haven't found a good excuse to buy them. And I did have a Tom Ford eyeshadow quad in the past that was gifted to me, and it was beautiful, but still I just find them a little bit too expensive for the price. I personally rather spend my money on palettes like these, where you still have beautiful formulas, wonderful color stories, a bunch more options, and all of these individually are cheaper than the Tom Ford quads. So that's kind of how I feel about them, but maybe one day I'll fall in love with one and I'll eat all of my words. Last palette we have to talk about today is, of course, the palette that I'm wearing, and it is the Pat McGrath Holiday Palette. Now, I told you guys earlier in this live that I didn't include my Pat McGrath favorites in this video to buy at Sephora because Pat McGrath is having a 30% off sale. So it's just not worth it for me to recommend you to buy Pat McGrath palettes at Sephora, because you can get them cheaper on the Pat McGrath website. And I'm going to include the Pat McGrath website's link down below so you guys can see the palettes over there and shop them. I have videos where I've told you all about my favorite Pat McGrath eyeshadow palettes. Anyways, the reason that this Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette is included in this video is because this one has not been on sale on the Pat McGrath website. She does her excuse me, she does her 25% to 30% off sales, and she usually has exclusions usually being the newest products she's released, and this product is brand new. This is her holiday palette, which came out, was it probably less than a month ago? I love this palette so much, probably one of the best holiday palettes she's ever released, and so this one has not yet been part of a Pat McGrath sale, and so obviously you can get it 20% off if you're a Rouge at Sephora, or 15% if you're a Beauty Insider. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm so happy you caught me live as well. People that are on camera a lot. I was talking at the beginning of the video about the, hold on, we'll go back to that one. The new Anastasia palette. I feel like for a more, well, it depends on the camera. If you're like a news anchor or something like that, I feel like you want to look more, not as like colorful, and so something like this would be a good everyday palette for on camera, and you can still build up some depth with this one. I feel like this is just an easy grab for that. And if you want something a little bit shiny, if you want your eyes to sparkle, the Natasha Denona Face and Eyes one right here would be great. Also, if you need to do your makeup on the go, this one is really nice and travel friendly. Okay, I hope that answered your question. I have, let me go back to this one here. So this new Pat McGrath palette, let me show you the swatches. the creamiest, most pigmented formulas ever, as per usual. When it comes to Pat McGrath, I just absolutely love her matte formulas. I find, by the way, that if you have any natural hair brushes work fantastic with Pat McGrath matte shadows, where I find that synthetic hair brushes don't work as well with Pat McGrath eyeshadows specifically. So I love that this palette has the creamiest formulas, like I was saying. Sorry, I got distracted because I was reading the chat. Anyways, so natural hair brushes work better with Pat McGrath shadows, in my opinion. Usually for me, that happens with every eyeshadow formula, but with Pat McGrath specifically, I highly recommend that you use natural hair brushes. This Pat McGrath palette has an incredible colorful color story. I love that she went way outside of what she usually gives us. I feel like Pat McGrath fans have been asking her for colorful shades. They've been asking her for more variety, a little bit less rose, and that is exactly what she did with this palette. Also, this palette sits at a really nice price point. Usually you get the mothership palettes from Pat McGrath at $125 each, and this one is, what was the price this year? Like 78 maybe, something like that. And so you get a lot more shades. Usually it's like 10 shades for $125, and you get, I believe it's 18 shades in this palette for less than $90, which is a great deal. Plus, if you are a more colorful type person, this palette is incredible because you get colorful looks that aren't very out there, in my opinion. Like the look I'm wearing today is really nice and colorful, but it's not it's not too much, I don't think, or at least for me. Anyways, this Pat McGrath palette is incredible. I did a look where I reviewed it, and I did 3 looks with this palette. One of them is the look that I'm wearing in today's video, and I absolutely loved the way each one of these looks came out. I feel like these looks were incredible. Actually, my favorite looks, thank you, $82 is the price of the palette. So I love those, and then I did a 5 looks 1 palette video with this one as well, and I created even more looks with it, and I found that the palette has a lot of diversity. You can definitely create a lot of very different eyeshadow looks when it comes to this one, and I had a ton of fun exploring all of the different shades in here. And so if you can get this palette, which was $82, thank you so much for clarifying, with an additional 15 or 20% off coupon, then that would be amazing. You might also maybe want to wait, because eventually it will probably go on sale on the Pat McGrath website, and you might be able to score it at 30% off rather than 15 or 20. If it doesn't sell out, which last year it didn't, but that's kind of a little bit of a gamble, right? Alrighty. Whew. So those are all of the palettes in today's video. These are the hottest palettes from Sephora, in my opinion, that you guys can grab. If you have any questions I didn't answer, please ask them again. I am looking at the chat right now. I was trying to kind of get the message across before. I wanted to make sure I got through all of these palettes, and I showed you all of my little videos and little pictures that I spent a lot of hours putting together today for this live. Okay, what is my favorite mothership palette? Ooh. Catlin says that's like asking her to pick a favorite child. That is exactly what that's like. But I can give you a top 3, top 4. Okay. I love mothership. I'm just gonna go in the order of creation, what my favorite ones are, right? Mothership number 1, if you like cool tones and blue shades, you'll love that one. Mothership number 3, absolutely love that one. It has a nice variety of shades in there, and it's very like sultry and smoky and sexy. And then I love 7. I love 8 as well, but we'll skip it. 7 and 9. So those are going to be my favorite. 1, 3, 7, and 9. I can't pick between those 4. But those have kind of different color stories, so maybe that can help you narrow it down, you know? Okay. Vegas, and it is 8:04 Pacific. Yes, it's 11:05 here. So I believe the Sephora VIB sale starts in an hour, unless it starts at 3 a.m. because sometimes that happens. But I feel like last year it started at midnight. So fingers crossed it starts at midnight. Otherwise, it starts at 3 a.m., in which case I'll place my order tomorrow. How many of you already have your carts filled? I've been getting your carts filled for the past 3 days, so I actually haven't filled mine yet. But as soon as I'm done with this live, I'm gonna go shopping for sure. Okay. What are you picking up? See, that's the thing. I don't know yet. So I feel like there's been a few things that I'm definitely, I have my eye on a few things. The new Dior holiday palette, I'm thinking maybe I want to try that. I need to restock on my Refresh daily cleaner. I ran out of this one last night or 2 nights ago. And when I was doing my makeup for today's video, I was going crazy because I usually clean my brushes right before I use them. And I was out of this one, so I was going crazy trying to clean my brushes on like different paper towels and stuff and not being able to get them as clean as I want to. So I need to get myself a Refresh brush cleaner. Like I said before, if you were here, I do have all of my Sephora recommendations listed in the link right below the links of these palettes in the description box of this video. So if you want to see everything I put together for my Sephora recommendations video, definitely check that link out. Danny says hers is overfilled. Yes, girl, I'm sure. Trust me, I can fill up my card and overfill my card in probably like 10 minutes when I get there. I know that I need to restock on a couple of things, and then I'm just trying to not overthink it, because then if I do, I start, adding things and taking things out and then going back to the things I took out. It's a whole thing. So I'm just going to, when I'm done with this live, place, check out everything. And also, if I tell you, then my haul video wouldn't be as fun, right? Meg says cart filled. You guys have your cart ready already? Yes. Is that what I need for refer brushes? Lisa, yes, this is what I need, what I use for my refer brushes. I clean them on a daily basis with this. Again, the link is down below. And it is the best because refer brushes are natural hair and this conditions them. It's not the greatest at stripping them of the colors right away. Like a lot of people say the Cinema Secrets one is better than this one, and to an extent I agree. The Cinema Secrets definitely gets all of the makeup out faster, but it makes your brushes dry and brittle, and nobody wants that. This one gets the makeup out fast enough, in my opinion, and it conditions them as well. So I swear by this thing. Yes. Tonya, she prefers to shop in person. Yes, girl, add it to your cart. If you go to the link down there where it says my Sephora recommendations, it's one of the first things you'll see on there. This stuff is amazing. Like I said, what I clean my brushes with all the time, and I've had my refer brushes now for probably 3 years. A lot of them are still, I don't have any that have broken or fallen apart or anything, and I clean them with this all the time, and all of the bristles are nice and hydrated. Nothing is brittle. Things look nice. You can also use your gentle facial cleanser bar, and that also works. Yes, I do use a gentle facial cleansing bar when I deep clean them, meaning when I put them under the faucet to wet them. I use a soap, I rinse them out, I let them dry and whatnot. But this is for every day. You literally spray this on a paper towel, you rub your brush on what you just sprayed, and your brush comes out clean and it comes out dry, so it's ready to use right away. I'm ashamed to admit how little I deep clean my brushes because I count on this so much. So Technically, I clean my brushes every day, but deep clean them, it's been a while. I need to. Love your nails. Thank you. These are press-ons from TJ Maxx. I picked them up at the checkout line the other day. And when I first put them on, I kind of hated them because I was like, they're so skinny. But now I agree. I like them as well. Which two palettes must have Natasha Denona bronzer palette or my Glam Dreams palette? I would do the My Dream palette. That's my favorite and my most recommended, even over the bronzer, because it has cool tones and warm tones and burgundies, and it just has a lot more versatility. The bronze palette, it's just bronzy shades. So I would do the My Dream palette better. Michelle likes the Refer Brush Cleanser for deep cleaning. That one is very, very nice too. Hall says, I'm so glad I picked up the new gold palette when it popped up a bit ago. Nice. That is amazing. Alrighty, buying a couple of Guerlain palettes. Oh my god, maybe that's something I need to add to my cart. The Guerlain palettes, I forgot that those were coming out for holiday, and I honestly haven't seen much about them since. Alright. Can you make a video on how you clean your makeup brushes? If you're talking about the refresh quick clean thing, I have a video on my Instagram account. My Instagram handle is at Patty C. Alonso, the way it's spelled right there. So if you check out my Instagram, and it was probably a year ago, so you might have to scroll down a bit, I do have a little Reels video where I was cleaning my brushes. Okay. Thank you so much to everybody who joined my live. I can't believe 127 one of you stayed this late with me. Are you guys a freak like me? Are you waiting for midnight to shop the Sephora sale? Because I do that every year. And things don't usually sell out that fast. Like if you wake up tomorrow morning, I'm sure you can maybe place your order too. But I just can't wait. I want my discounted makeup and I want it right now. Does your hubby have any good recommendations to get my boys for Christmas? My husband's into tools. Like he likes sierras. How do you say sierras? You know, tools. Anything DeWalt or whatever. He loves that stuff. And also putting things in the car and taking them out. And yeah, I don't know. He doesn't, you know what, I can give you recommendations of things that I like on my husband. Like fragrances, I love Sauvage on him from Dior. I love Bleu de Chanel. You know, the basic nice perfumes for boys. I like to shop the sale items the night of the sale. Me too. I can't wait. I have to get it as soon as it becomes available. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me live. Is what I was saying earlier. I love you so much. Don't forget to thumbs up this video if you liked it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching this video later, it's okay. I am so distracted. Okay, I love you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to shop my recommendations down below. Yeah, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you back in the next video. I really hope that this video was helpful, by the way, and that you enjoyed my palette recommendations. I feel like I was a bit scatterbrained, but that's okay. Mwah. Bye-bye.